Guys, it is great to be with you again. Welcome back to SAAB Talk Live. It's your first time here. Welcome. Special welcome out to you. We're live just about every Thursday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, streaming live on Facebook and YouTube, welcoming people from around the world into the SAAB community. So tonight we're going to be talking a bit about road trips. You know, your SAAB really is happiest when it's on the road. And there are a couple of really great trips coming up in the not too distant future that I want to make you aware of and hope you have the opportunity to join. One of them is going on just outside of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, in Carlisle, Pennsylvania. And let's welcome to the show here Philip Klene. He is the board member at the Central Pennsylvania SAAB Club. And they are the folks who kind of help put on SAABs at Carlisle. So, Philip, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Good to be with you guys.
Yeah, really happy you're here. So, SAABs at Carlisle is the single largest gathering for SAAB guys in the eastern part of the U.S. every year. How many cars do you think are going to make it this year?
We're expecting probably around 200 cars. We had 230 in 2019. Obviously, 2020 and 2021 were a little their turnout, but things look very promising. There's probably, I think, 80 people registered so far, 120 cars already registered. We're thinking close to 200 on the show, which is a pretty good turnout. There's lots of cars, lots of other groups that come, but the SAAB contingent really dominates the field.
Man, you can say that again. I'm going to throw up some video here from when I was at Carlisle. That was in 2019. And while we're looking at some of these cars, describe for me, for people who haven't been there, kind of what's the day about, or what's the weekend about, really?
Yeah, Friday has gotten even busier than it has in the past. So Friday and Saturday, there's people from the East Coast and Midwest too. Some of them come in, bringing their SAABs. They bring other cars of other makes and manufacturers, even though that may be heresy to talk about. There's interesting cars of other manufacturers that people get to see. I pretty much stay on the SAAB field. There's makes this year. We're going to have cars from 1955 to 2011. So there's going to be a wide range of cars presented. People bring in their beautiful cars, their unbelievable cars, like Jonathan Williams' beautiful white airflow here that he spent a lot of time customizing and bringing a spectacular car. There's people that bring their daily drivers too. So all cars are more than welcome. People will bring stuff to sell. There is a swap meet over on the other side where people come in. So it's a good chance to meet other folks with SAABs or similar models and talk about mechanical issues or problems or parts you might need for things and contacts, and just having a good time with other people that appreciate the cars that you do also.
Yeah, I think you made a good point there, and that is bring your daily driver, bring your project car. Don't be too proud to bring something that might need a little help, because guys around this place are not judgmental at all, was my experience anyway.
Correct, and you'll get ideas and thoughts too. If you got problems with something, many times people are under the hood trying to fix things or help people out. And yeah, sometimes people don't have their cars all the way ready when they get there, and they break down along the way. Well, oftentimes they get fixed and get sent on their way also. But quite a few SAABs, like I said before, there's a good number. We probably 10% of the show field turned out to be SAABs, which oftentimes totals up to what the next two or three car groups combine. So there's a lot of interesting SAABs to look at and unique, customized, wonderful cars to look at.
Yeah, and you're going to learn a lot. And, one of the great things for me being there was taking a look at, purely original cars and seeing how things were put together. Because, my car at that time had been through lots of different hands and people had done all kinds of things. So just a great place to learn and get to meet a lot of the guys in the group. And let's talk a little bit about the dates and the registration. So I'm going to throw up your website here, Philip, and this is the Central Pennsylvania SAAB Club website. And this is a good starting point. So steer me through where we need to go here to get registered and what we're talking about.
Okay, I've got a little bit of a delay on my screen here, but basically there are two things to register for. The Carlisle events group. This is the Central Penn SAAB, and it'll link over to the SAABS at Carlisle section also.
Okay.
But
well, let me
the
steer
Carlisle
people.
events are the people that host it.
Let me drive people. So you hit this link in the upper left-hand corner of the website. Then you come down here to the Carlisle Events Import and Performance Nationals. When I register here, what am I registering for? What is this about?
That gets you onto the show field to allow and see the cars and all the other folks. They put the dates 13th and 14th, but it does spill over onto Sunday to some event. It's not near as much. Mm-hmm. It's if you haven't been, it's amazing. Our first trip, maybe 10 years ago or so, was mind-boggling. We showed up on a Sunday when things were winding down, but there's even less now on the Sundays. Friday and Saturday have expanded to where this allows you to get on the show field, to get a pass to get on, to bring your car on. Okay. So that's the first step to register, or a step required. Then the SAABS at Carlisle registration, the first link registers you with Central Penn SAAB Club. That gets you to give your car in a group. It can be judged with the other cars, so we know what model we have in terms of putting different classes together, and allows all the other folks to register on your, to vote on your car. Gives you a number and a identification. It allows you to get meals, to coordinate with the meals that we have. It gets you on our email link. You register your email address so you can get updates. There's interesting things about convoys that people are putting together. They're bringing from the east, from the south, from Virginia. There's a big convoy from the south. There's other groups and other people, and it gives you updated information and reminders of what to bring. If it's May at Carlisle, it may be 80 degrees and you need sunscreen. It may be 50 and pouring down raining. Right. It is wise, and it's also a reminder that's sent to say, hey, who knows what the weather will be at Carlisle, because that's a given. Nobody knows.
Nobody knows. Again, so that's just outside of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. So it's not a tough drive for anybody on the East Coast. A couple of hours, and as you said, the convoys are often great. I forgot to mention that my co-host Mark Romisher wasn't able to join us tonight, but he's often said that convoy driving up from Virginia with some other SAAB guys is one of his favorite parts of the trip. So yeah, those are great opportunities to have. Do you know, Philip, what's it cost to get on the show field, and then how much does it cost to register with you guys?
I do not know the exact numbers. I think, look at the links. My wife has registered us, so I'm out of the of the focus on that. Unfortunately,
it's not going to break you. It's not horribly expensive. Yeah,
right. So, one of the other things on that link there at the SAABS at Carlisle, mm-hmm. there is a chance to purchase shirts, caps, or other things. Which we're working with a different vendor this year, so we have a better selection. Go back one more page. There you go. The SAAB Carlisle merchandise, SAABS at Carlisle. So you can order sweatshirts, T-shirts, other things. And we've missed the deadline in order for us to be able to get them to the show and hand them out at the show. But you've got the option to where if you order it now, they will send it directly to you. So we're working with a different vendor that we got a little more of a selection of things, and something we're pretty excited about, not having to have as much on hand, or allow and give a broader selection of people to choose what they might want to purchase in terms of clothing or other items.
Great. So tell me about the event itself that you guys host, and what are some of the things going on with you? So there's meals, are there programs and other opportunities to learn things, formal kind of training sessions or anything like that?
We've had some seminars. I don't know we have anything put together entirely yet, prepared for this show, but a lot of people hang out and kibitz with other folks of similar cars to coordinate that. You get, when you also given a choice to join the Central Penn SAAB Club, and there's a number of different groups that companies, some of our sponsors that offer services, discount and benefits to you financially, to encourage you to support a sponsor and financially help yourself out at the same time.
Well, as folks just saw, the registration to get in with you guys is the 26th. If I miss that and I don't want to register, but just kind of want to come and be part of your event, what happens there? Is that okay?
Yes, you can come up. You can register at the show. You're not allowed to have a number. It's just too much to handle with the volunteer staff to put you have a car that could be judged or on the register of cars that they pick all the classic 900s of one group or the new gen 95s or different cars to select them out in the groups. We just don't have them where people can vote on those as a group is the disadvantage, but very happy if people come and enjoy and see the show. And then most of the time they're more than motivated to make sure that they're part of it and they get registered early enough the next year. This year we have another interesting factor that we're trying to coordinate to get as much of what the SAAB 006, the little convertible juniors, the little go-kart cars. We're trying to see if we can get a showing of a good number of those this year. We've got a few in the works and trying to get as many as we can to join up and be part of that.
Gotcha. So is just sorry, was fooling around there with the text messages. Is this group doing anything else through the course of the year, or is this your big event? It's kind of a one and done sort of deal.
There's monthly meetings every year. We've had drives previous years and still trying to reinvent things. COVID affects it and get-togethers. There's an annual Christmas party, usually in January now that we have to get. But the monthly meetings are in person in Harrisburg usually, and they're also now, thankfully, on Zoom to allow us to get through the COVID. And some of us that live a few hours away, it also allows us to participate without having to get back at 1:30 in the morning.
What kind of cars are you bringing? I know you've got a big collection of SAABs. What's in the works for you?
We're hoping to bring we've got a two-stroke wagon. We've been working on a 1970 Sonnet 3 that we've had in the process, and there's a 5-door Acacia Green that is going through some transformation that we're hoping to have ready. Repower it with a turbo engine power plant and a bunch of other things. We've got just a little bit of time. We just picked it up a week and a half ago, so it's going to be a rush if we can find enough time to get some things to make it presentable.
You got a month. You'll get it. You got a month. You'll get it done.
We'll work on this. There's some other things that I have to track down. I've been trying to find a 5-door to put a flat nose airflow kit on it for a number of years, and there's a few odd pieces and things that are missing. We'll have to see if we can track those down in time. But we bring a range of cars. We're partial to the classic 900s. We've got a number of those, but
well, so am I.
Never know what else strikes people's fancies.
Yeah, I'm kind of in that camp as well, and so is the next guy that I want to bring to the program. He is actually a friend of yours and a pretty big fan of 900s. Noel Simmons is here. You guys live, about 20 minutes apart, I found out?
Yeah, about that.
That's great. So Noel is also coordinating a road trip, although not at Carlisle. He's going to be out at SOC, and Noel's going to be putting together a geological tour. So let's turn our attention there. And Noel, tell us about that trip and what's going to be happening out there.
Well, at Albany, I was handing my business card off to a fellow about some spare parts, and the treasurer to the SAAB club noticed that I was a geologist and said, hey, if we're out in the Black Hills next year, there's some really exciting geology out there, isn't there? And I said, yeah. And he said, well, maybe you ought to do a road trip. And so I've been working with Sandy Boggage to sort of piggyback a geologic road trip on top of one of 2 trips that the SAAB club is going to do. On Wednesday, they're going to do an all-day trip to Devil's Tower because it is about 2.5 or 3 hour drive away from Sturgis. Mm-hmm. And then on Thursday, leaving at about 8 o'clock in the morning, we're going to try to get a photo op on one of the top tiers of the parking garage of everyone that goes on that road trip with Mount Rushmore in the background.
That would be cool.
And I said, well, that's perfect. That's some of the oldest rocks there. I can just start there and work my way back up to the present. So Sandy wants to do that, and then after Mount Rushmore, do a really great drive, which is called the Iron Mountain Road. It goes through a couple of those tunnels that are carved through raw rock. It's not quite as dramatic as the Needles Highway, which I would encourage everybody to do if they get they get a chance to. But it's got some awfully nice views and some really nice terrain you'll drive through. You do get there's a place called the Norbeck Overlook, which is sort of where we'll part ways. Those folks who don't want to go on the geology trip will stop there because it's a great view of Mount Rushmore from about a mile away. And we'll figure out who wants to go with me and who wants to just go home. That at the end of the Iron Mountain Road, that's pretty much when the SAAB Club's trip is over.
Okay, we're going to get some maps up and show people some of that in just a moment. But Noel, I want to talk a little more about your cars. You've got, I'm a 900 guy. I think Philip's a 900 guy, and you've got a really awesome 900 that I saw for the first time out there at Albany. So tell us a little more about this car.
Well, most SAAB people are well known for collecting many, many SAABs. I tend to take my OCD in a different direction. I only own one, and I try to do just about everything I can think of to it. I try to sort of put myself, if I were a SAAB engineer and I had the benefit of 30 some odd years, what would I do to my car? Try to stay true to the brand, but to just make it as modern and as powerful and as fun to drive as I can conceivably make it, and pretty along the way.
Yeah, and your interior in this car is beautiful. I love the accessory gauges. Those are fantastic. Is that new carpeting in this car too?
That was originally tan carpeting that I dyed sort of a blue-gray using red tie-dye. It wasn't the greatest experiment in the world. It looked better than either the horrible gray carpet that was in there when I bought this car, or the tan carpet that was in, the horrible tan carpeting that was in this car when I got it, because it used to have a tan interior, or the gray carpeting that was in my first car, that silver one, the Edwardian gray, that was my first car, which unfortunately met its demise in 2013 with wasn't paying attention going through a stop sign.
Yeah, that's sad. Yeah, this one right here. Boo-hoo, this is a sad thing to have seen happen.
Yeah, it was a rainy morning. The green light dropped, and I started making my turn, saw the cars coming, tried to turn out of it, but I was sort of the victim of a cell phone person. They were on their cell phone, not paying attention, and I was trying to turn out and get out of the way, but my nose was clearly where it didn't belong, and they just sort of slow motion drove right into me.
Oh, lovely. Oh, that's too bad. But you've moved on, and now you've got a beautiful car that is doing the job for you. And lots of things have been done to this car. You have just such a long list of changes that you've made. Tell me what do you think has been the most impactful in your 900?
Well, going back to the first car, I did sort of a Jack Stoll performance upgrade and got it up to around 220, 230 horsepower and took it over to a 5-speed when the automatic transmission. I would have to say going from automatic to 5-speed was one of the first and greatest things I did. Mm-hmm. Then the performance mods. I would count the recent transmission work where I put Type 8 primaries in it and a limited slip differential sort of help take that power to live it smoothly. And I'm a big fan of Jordan Pagano's modern classic SAAB Trionic upgrade. It really, really is a transformative upgrade, and it really takes everything that's great about the car and just makes it smooth as silk.
I am so jazzed. The first shipment from Jordan for my conversion just arrived today, so I'm looking forward to making that swap. So this is the engine out of the car, and let's just walk through a few of these. There you go. I think we've seen all these now, haven't we? Yeah, we've seen all these.
And when you're inside my hood, you'll see I'm not a big. I have yet to get there. Probably my OCD will take me there one day. I have a very utilitarian. I don't have a lot of shiny stuff underneath the hood and the like, because this is my daily driver. I drive this car every day of the week.
Oh, that's great. All year round?
All year round.
Oh, dude. Well, you're killing it. You're in Virginia, though. You don't have Indiana winters, so.
Yeah, we don't. It gets sloppy, but it doesn't get really, really nasty.
Okay, so now we've kind of walked through some of your special car, and that's the car you're bringing out to SOC, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've done everything down to the bushings on the car. I think the only thing that hasn't been changed is the starter, the two rear bearings, and one front wheel bearing. Everything else has been replaced, renewed, or upgraded along the line. I don't have the least bit concern of taking that car on a 5,000-mile road trip.
Ah, that is fantastic. So let's talk a little bit about the tour out there and what you're going to be doing. So let's start down the path. I want to know more about this geology tour. It sounds pretty interesting. So walk me through that.
So the Black Hills is a really unique place. About 50 million years ago, a huge domal uplift occurred essentially in the continental interior of the United States. It's very much like your Indiana geology, except for it was uplifted, 4, 5, 8,000 feet, bringing some 1.7 to 2.8 billion year old rocks to the surface, including the Harney Peak granite that Mount Rushmore is carved from. So you can see really a really great history of the formation of the North American continent there. And it happens just out of coincidence, or perhaps not, that's the suture zone between the western and eastern half of the North American continent, back when North America was a bunch, like 5 or 6 small continents that all came together in what we have today. So that's going a little fast, but what we were trying to show was here is that the SAAB Club's trip is going to take about an hour and a half of driving, with perhaps another hour and a half to 2 hours to stop and do that picture and do some sightseeing at Mount Rushmore. And so it'd be about 3 hours round trip to get back. Once we part ways with the folks who don't want to do the geology, it's really only going to take us about an extra hour and a half of driving time and an extra hour or so of stops. And I'll give you a good tour of what happened over the last almost 2.5 billion years to North America. And I can do that in 6 or 7 well orchestrated stops.
Okay.
Essentially, Mount Rushmore is in this Harney Peak granite, which is a spectacular granite. It has crystal sizes of the size of baseballs and softballs. In some places, you can see in that bottom center picture, there are single crystals that are tens of feet long and 4 and 5 feet. There are some individual crystals in that granite that are the size of railroad boxcars, and it was in place at about 5 to 7 miles deep, about 40,000 feet deep, cooled very slowly. That's why you get that great crystal growth. There's also all over the Black Hills, you'll see these white veins that you can see in the bottom left picture. Those are called pegmatites, and those are very late stage in many cases and have some fantastic mineralization of tin and copper and lithium. There's a huge lithium mine there. Has one of the more spectacular crystals ever been recorded of a mineral called spodumene, which is a lithium, which was 47 feet long and about 15 feet in diameter, a single crystal. And this formed when, as I said earlier, the western and eastern half of North America came together about 1.7 billion years ago, and the Harney Peak granite was in place at that time. And that's the same granite that forms the Needles Highway. On my trip from there, as I say, that threw up a mountain about the size of the Himalayas. But one of the things that's really kind of fantastic is over the next billion years, very little happened to the continent, and that was eroded down to sea level, so that from going from what were probably the heights of 35 or 40,000 foot tall mountains, was eroded down to sea level, and then these 500 million year old rocks, starting with the Deadwood Formation and on up, what we call the Paleozoic sequence, that's the age of invertebrates, is laying flat on top of vertical rocks. And there's an outcrop we'll take you through it, as you can see here, that you'll have you can put one hand on one set of rocks and on the other, and you're spanning almost 1.2 billion years of time. It's
Wow.
a really kind of fun place. There are only a few places you can do that. Bottom of The Grand Canyon is one of them. I'll show you some extreme overturned folds. We can go back to where we were just there a moment ago. Some extreme overturned folds that, when the continents came together, all the rocks are squeezed out like toothpaste out of a toothpaste tube. We'll go stop by the Homestake pit at Deadwood. You can see some of these 50 million year old intrusions that are responsible for Devil's Tower and the nearby Bear Butte near Sturgis. They also placed gold veins in the Deadwood Formation, and in that you can see that intrusive body there that's called a dike, and it created a huge second mineral industry that was responsible for the Buffalo Bill and Calamity Jane days. And we'll go through the younger rocks that make up most of what you see in North America, stopping lastly at Bear Butte, which is another dome. It's a mushroom-shaped intrusive body of magma came when this area, which you can see in that picture there, was deeply buried several thousand feet, and everything else has been eroded off it in that meantime. And where all that sediment went that's over in the Badlands, which we unfortunately won't get a chance to see. And it's the same event that created Devil's Tower. And a lot of people, if you didn't get to go on Wednesday with the SAAB Club, I would encourage people to go there on Sunday. It's a really pretty spectacular geologic formation at Devil's Tower. A lot of people will think it's a volcano, but it's much too coarse-grained to be a volcano. What it is it's that neck. There's a neck just like Devil's Tower at the base of Bear Butte, but that entire mushroom-shaped top that you can see at Bear Butte has been stripped off Devil's Tower, leaving only the stock from which the magma was intruded. It's pretty neat. I would hope that by the time we get done with this 2, 3, 4 hour trip, I can fulfill the promise that one of my first geology professors made to me, is that you'll be able to go out and pick up any rock and say something intelligent about it.
That is, your passion for this is obvious, and that's one of the cool things about the SAAB community, guys, is Noel, your unique knowledge in your background, and then Philip, I know you own and operate a very large nursery, and just the professional interest and backgrounds, people you meet in this organization. So interesting to run across folks and kind of learn more about their backgrounds, and then we all have those car things in common to talk about. So that's one of the great things about being involved in this community. All right. It's time for us to wrap things up. Let's recap here. So do we need to do anything in order to join your drive, Noel, when out there at SOC? Is there any registration or anything?
You'll need to come on the Mount Rushmore trip. We can do it on the fly if you decide you want to do it that afternoon. It'd be great if you could get word to me, Noel Simmons at Verizon.net, NOELSIMMONS. And let me know you're coming. That'll help me plan some stuff. I'll give you a copy, for instance, of the materials that I'm going to show. I'll probably make a big flip cards, something like what I just showed there, to sort of add some graphics to what we're talking about. I'll give you a copy of those, and we'll have a couple other things in a goodie bag for you if I know in advance. And I'm going to make some guesstimate of how many folks I think this might interest. I could be wrong, high or low. I have no idea. But if you let me know you're planning to come, I'll make sure that I've got everything for you. And I'm happy for anybody to go if they decide at the last minute they want to go. It really won't make any difference. But I've got the whole route planned out. I'm going to go out on Wednesday and drive it, make sure that everything is where it's supposed to be, because I've done a lot of this by Google Street View, and we can just play it by ear.
And then, Philip, the registration for SAABS at Carlisle, we're coming up to close here pretty soon, and I would invite people to get involved in that as well. You learn anything here tonight, Philip? I certainly did.
Yep, it's interesting. I'm kind of wondering which car I should take to make sure I can follow along on some of Noel's trips. Not so sure by which one I'll take.
Yeah, his 300 horsepower 900, that'll be tough to keep up with, right?
Well, I don't think that's too much to worry about, because as I understand, if you can do 35 or 40 to through the Black Hills, you're doing fine.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. Well, guys, hey, I really appreciate you being here, joining us, and sharing what you know. I hope the community joins your drives coming up. So SAABS at Carlisle coming up in mid-May, so the 14th and 15th, right? And then SOC is in July. 13th, thank you. And then SOC in July. So you still got plenty of time to plan, and hope you'll get your SAAB out on the road. Guys, thanks so much. Really glad you're here.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you, Lee.
All right. And we'll see all you guys next week for another episode of SAAB Talk Live. Share this around so more folks learn about it. We want to grow the community, of course, and love being here with you each week, almost every week, if something else isn't going on, right? But we'll see you hopefully next week at 8 o'clock live on Facebook and on YouTube. Drive well, guys.
We talked for 15 minutes.